Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Raptor Queens Podcast, the first ever all-women podcast covering the Toronto Raptors. My name is Sarah Khalil, and I'm here with my other Queens of the North, Allison Hope and Essie Magic. Tonight, unfortunately, we are missing Sonali Sharma. We had some scheduling issues this week. We can all be here at the same time. That's okay. The three of us are going to carry this forward. It is also, just FYI for everyone, it's also Friday. We don't usually record on Fridays. We usually record Saturdays or Sundays. Not actually that big of a deal, except that last week we predicted games all the way through to Saturday, which is Brooklyn's game for tomorrow. And obviously that hasn't been played yet. So we don't quite yet know who won our predictions. I will say, however, that I was the only one that predicted that the Raptors would win both games against Indiana, and they did. So far, I'm winning, but we shall see how this goes. All right, so this week what happened so far is the Raptors played the Bulls, and then they played the Pacers, and then they played the Pacers again, and so far they've won all three of those games, and tomorrow they are playing Brooklyn. Nick Nurse was named the Eastern Conference Coach of the Month. Congratulations to Nick Nurse. He totally deserves it. He's getting a ton of press, even in the U.S., on U.S. media, just people actually acknowledging and noticing the work that he's done with the Raptors this year. Zach Lowe even said that the Raptors are the best story in the NBA this season. Yeah, about time someone noticed. And also, it's fine when we fly under the radar. And also this week was the NBA trade deadline. So there was a whole bunch of movement that happened in the NBA. There was lots of gossip. We'll get to that a little bit later. But overall, these are the things that keep us going in the January, February midseason grind. We got gossip, we got trade deadlines, we got accolades being given all over the place. And it's a fun and exciting week. So let's turn it over to Allison. Allison, you were here last week, so we missed your voice. We'd love to hear from you. What did you think of the games this week?
Just looking back at the Chicago game, that was the 129-102, a really fun game to watch. It was like a feel-good game. We had Fred breaking ankles. We had TD2 going 6 for 7 from 3. We held Chicago to, I think, 39 points in the second half. Serge was huge, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 blocks, all in 24 minutes. And Fred with 8 assists. That was a big number for him. He's really starting to become more of a playmaker. And then I'll just touch on OG, 21 minutes, 4 points, 7 rebounds, 0 assists, 1 steal. The Indiana game, I've always liked Indiana, and I'm a big fan of Miles Turner. We knew this was going to be kind of a sentinel game. We're kind of evenly matched, considering that Mark and Norm are out. And somehow I forgot that Doug McDermott was back in the East. I think he had gone to Dallas or one of the Western teams a couple of years ago. I did look back at Basketball Reference, which is a source that is absolutely fantastic for stats. He's a career 41% free, shooter from 3. I swear against the Raptors, he's an 81% three-point shooter. And that was the story of the game, though, their three-point shooting. I think they hit something like, I want to say 19 threes? They shot 49% from 3. We were at 38%, but somehow pulled that game out. And when Kyle Lowry stepped up to take that 3 with, I want to say, a minute and 24 left, or a minute and 34 or something like that, I just had this feeling like, I think we can do this. That was a super exciting game. And tonight, just excellent defense. We had some amazing closeouts. Terence Davis blocked Doug McDermott from like a baseline 3. Like, I think in all my years of watching basketball, I've seen the Raptors do that 3 times this year, like block a 3, like straight up block. I think maybe I've seen that 3 times in my life before this year. We played lockdown defense in the second half. I think we only allowed, 40 points in the second, and just amazing numbers. I mean, and there was Terence Davis, big impact player, 17 points, 7 rebounds, shot for 7 from 10 from the field and 3 from 5 for 3. It was a super exciting game. I call this as a loss. I'm thrilled that it was a win. So
Awesome. That's a great breakdown of all of the games. Lots to pick apart there, and we will in just a few minutes. Essie, let's get your big picture take on this week before we break it down a little further. Go ahead.
All right. So yeah, congratulations to the team. Franchise record, getting those 12 straight wins, and now tonight, 13 straight wins. So that's very, very exciting. Very happy for them. I'm also happy to see Pascal being more aggressive as well, especially in the first Indiana game. There was a stretch of time when he was clearly avoiding contact and then expecting a call, like with the littlest touch, and then complaining to the refs. And yeah, he did get fouled sometimes, but a lot of times, like, dude, you're avoiding contact and then expecting a call. And now he seems to be over that. He seems to have learned from that. He's being much more aggressive. He's going into the contact. And the most important part is that he's also commanding double teams now. And this is very important because it opens up the floor and scoring for other players. And that's one of the biggest things that you miss if you don't have a so-called superstar, is that sort of player that commands that double team. So the fact that he's, beginning to do that is very, very, promising looking forward. Yeah, and so that's part of the reason why Ibaka was open in that last play in the first Indiana game, because Sabonis was staring at Siakam because he was commanding that attention, and then he didn't even notice that Kyle and Serge switched. And then by the time he noticed, he starts running up to Serge, but that leaves that quick 1 second of time where he was able to get the shot off. So it just makes such a big difference to have Pascal commanding double teams, being aggressive, not avoiding contact. It really changes the dynamic of the team. And also, too, I really love how Nick Nurse has been playing TD2 at the end of games, essentially doing what he was doing with Norm, but with TD2. Pretty much when you have another player who's an actual scoring threat, it definitely opens up the floor and creates more spacing. And I think it really alleviates the times when OG's been playing bad. He played better tonight, but, in past times, TD2 being there has helped from an offensive perspective, and then the defense reacts. And then also, too, just really happy for Terence Davis because, for example, tonight's game was on ESPN, so that's nationally televised. And the fact that he was snubbed in the Rising Star Challenge, and he's been playing so well, and tonight's game was nationally televised so they could all see what they're missing out on. I just feel so happy for him that he's getting the exposure, and, Kendrick Perkins is noticing, and he's getting some buzz around the league, and I'm just so proud of him. So I'm just, overall, really, really good week. And looking forward to next week, especially with All-Star coming up. We have a lot of representation, and feeling good. Winning. Hashtag winning.
Yeah, I feel like that's like maybe the hashtag for the Raptors season, hashtag winning. It's been an excellent year. It's such a fun team. I don't think I've seen, like one of the comments I've seen the most on Twitter this week is how much people love this team. They love the players. They love how it's composed and who's on this team. I think they love that the Raptors didn't make any trades at the deadline because they're just happy about who this team is. And we'll get back to that in a second. I would like to give my big picture take for this week as well. For me, the thing that really stood out to me is that this was a growth week. And I say that for a couple of reasons. And I think I really want to give credit to Nick Nurse here. But so first of all, it's the first time in a few weeks when we've had the Raptors actually play against potential playoff competition. And so it was nice to see them play 2 games back to back against Indiana, a team that they're well matched against. And even within that first game where they, fought from 19 down to close the gap, and then they were down by 10 again, and then they closed the gap, and then down by 10 with about 2 minutes left to go, and to win that game by 1 point. Like, even within the stretch of a game, what I see is that the Raptors continue to adjust and grow. And then they came into this next game, and they took the win a little bit more easily than the game before. And there are a couple things I really want to highlight about it. One is Pascal, and to your point, Essie, the way he's attracting double teams and how he really had to battle through the first 3 quarters of the first Indiana game. Like, it was difficult for him to manage it. He was getting into position but not finishing his shots very well. I think at one point Nick Nurse was like, Pascal got to like 2 feet with it, 2 feet of the basket, but then his shot was like 6 feet wide. And to have Pascal like adjust himself throughout the game so that in the fourth quarter, he was drawing that defense, kicking out the ball effectively, but also scoring. Like he adjusted even in that within that game. And then also Nick Nurse, after the Pacers game, people were asking him about OG. Are you worried about his production at all? And he said, no, I'm not. He said, what there is for us as the coaching staff to do is take a look at whether or not we're setting him up to succeed. Basically, he's like, I want to give him more looks offensively. And basically he said, you know, it's on us to actually have OG perform. And I love that. I love how he's so positive about his players. And so then today we see OG come out and he's hitting 3-pointers. He played excellent defense. And I actually think the only reason he didn't finish tonight's game in place of Patrick McCaw is because he fouled out. He was playing great. He just played a great game. And so, yeah, to me, this week is a story of like the Raptors continuing to adjust and grow and really like stretch their ceiling. I don't even know what their ceiling is yet. And that was really fun to watch. So that's my big picture take.
I just want to add, Kyle getting injured and then Pascal. I mean, it doesn't rain, but it pours. Anyway.
Yeah, but we did see Pascal come back into the game after he got, I guess, poked in the eye by Rondé. Rondé, what are you doing poking your own teammate in the eye? Don't make you court jester again for stuff like that. And Kyle, I guess he had an x-ray after the game and it came back clean. So I'm optimistic that Kyle's going to be okay. Let's see how this goes. But yeah, like it really isn't fun. Like, let's not forget we were also playing without Norm this week and without Mark this week. So even not full strength, we are finding ways to beat teams that are playoff teams. So this is really good news for the Raptors. I get your point. It's frustrating and actually kind of heartbreaking to see our players keep getting injured, but I'm also really proud of who this team is in the face of injury.
And I also just wanted to add that I know we're not supposed to care about what the American broadcasters say or the analysts say, but it felt really good to see Jay Williams apologize for what he said earlier in the year, to see Dennis Scott apologize, to see Matt Barnes admit he was wrong. Like, it just feels good. And I know, I bet you someone's gonna be like, oh, who cares? They say it all the time. But like, as somebody who lives in the States and has been, is subjected to all these views, it just feels so good to see them recognize the Raptors. And yeah, so I just wanted to add that feel good moment.
Oh, totally. I mean, to be honest, I kind of think the Raptors maybe don't like it as much. I think they love when they fly under the radar and then they're just like, oh, whatever, I guess we'll just keep surprising you because you're just too dumb to notice that we're good. But as a fan, it's definitely vindicating.
Yeah.
So what else do you guys want to add about this week's games or this week's comments before we move into our King of the North segment?
So the one thing I did want to talk about, though, I want to tell you guys a funny story that happened in our group chat. So this was on Wednesday, and it was like, the trade deadline was coming up, so we're all a little bit anxious. And it was like, I think it was like halftime in the Indiana game. And so I proclaimed in the group, I'm like, we definitely have to keep Serge. And then Sarah goes, I stand Mark. And then Serge proceeds to have the best game ever. I just thought it was so funny.
Okay, to be clear, I still stand Mark and Serge had the best game ever. And you were basically making it up like, oh, let's see, which one of these two would you trade? And to be fair, I actually kind of agree with you. I do think after Serge's performance, he convinced me it should be him.
Yeah, because so where this stems from, for all you guys listening, is the idea that we can't keep both Serge and Mark, sadly, towards the end of the season, unless one of them takes a major pay cut. And so we've kind of been debating about this, back and forth, because of the fact that, we can't keep both because we have to give more money to Fred, and there's all these, salary cap reasons. But yeah, so I just wanted to tell that story because I thought it was very funny and ironic how he would proceed to have his best Raptor game right after I said that. And this is not to say that I don't like Mark, because I know this starts this whole Serge versus Mark thing. I just think, weighing my options, that's it's a hard choice, but I would go with him. But we can get into that discussion deeper in the future, since we have both of them till the end of the season.
Yay. And you know what? I do actually love what Serge said. Somebody asked him about his passing and how his passing has so improved. And he said that he credits playing with Mark because he sees the way that Mark passes and contributes offensively in that way. And he took on that aspect of his game. And it is absolutely apparent. You can see that it's really working.
Yeah, definitely. He's worked on his passing. He's worked on his shooting as well. Like, he's worked so hard. Like, he's getting, it's hard to like imagine because of his age, but he's gotten better and better, as a Raptor. And so it's a tough decision, but I just love the guy.
Yeah, well, I love him too. I don't want to say that I don't love Serge, because I do. And there are lots of reasons, and we'll talk more about them this week. Off the court reasons as well. But before we move into off the court, let's actually just talk a little bit about, you were mentioning we get to keep both Serge and Mark this year. And we know that because the trade deadline has come and gone and the Raptors did not make any moves. Allison, how do you feel about that?
I do believe that was my prediction in one of our earlier podcasts. I'm pretty comfortable with it. It does leave us kind of hanging after the end of the year, like regardless of what happens. And in my heart of hearts, I know it probably won't happen, but it would be super nice for Mark to take like a hometown discount and stay with us. We do have to keep Serge though, but I mean, I know we can't keep everyone. And this is, it's just such an art, right? To stay under the cap with a view to 2021. Yeah. I'm not surprised. I'm kind of happy we didn't do anything, and I'm not sure what we would have given up and how that would have affected our cohesion and our chemistry.
So overall, do you think that Masai and Bobby made the right decision?
I do.
And how do you think that has us match up or fare in the Eastern Conference playoffs?
So essentially, going in with the team we have, I mean, we have the two obvious, we don't have Danny, we don't have Kawhi. I mean, that's the question, right? How do I answer that? Time will tell. As this season's gone on, like Essie, I've started to become a little bit more optimistic, not because I'm hanging with a group of optimists, but because this team is showing me something like every week. So it remains to be seen.
Interesting. I love how cautious you are in your optimism. It's like not really optimistic at all. It's just, you're just like, maybe, with like a smile instead of a frowny face.
Exactly.
All right. Essie, what do you feel about the trade and the non-trades that happened on the Raptors team?
I'm okay with it. You mentioned last week how I started coming around. I think what I was more worried about was what the other top teams in the East could do, because I felt, oh my gosh, if one of them makes a big trade and then we stay the same, it could change the whole dynamic depending on what the trade is. And it turned out that there wasn't really much happening that would be a threat to us. And so, I mean, the Heat got Andre Iguodala, but I don't really think that's a big deal. We can get into that later in our Around the League segment. But overall, I'm okay with it. I'm happy with it. I'm satisfied with the team right now. And I'm kind of just like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. I mean, I still don't think we're going to get to the NBA Finals, though, like you guys. But, or I should specify Sonali and Sarah who think that. But, I'm okay with it. Given that there wasn't that great of a crop of players to trade for, and we obviously have to keep flexibility for 2021, and we've been winning, so I'm okay with it.
Okay. I am too. We have had extended discussions about this in previous podcasts. I guess for me, I think I'm happy on behalf of the players on this team. I think they all really, really like each other, and any one of them would have been heartbroken to go. And I know that this isn't necessarily a league of sentimentality, and you have to make the choice for what you think is going to have you win. But I do think from a sentimental point of view that this team deserves a chance to win together, and that there's something about how they play. And like an earlier statement that was made by Nick Nurse, when everyone wrote them off, they said, we're not actually interested in proving people wrong. We're interested in proving ourselves right. And I think that is absolutely the approach to take. I think it's beautiful that Masai and Bobby are giving themselves a chance to do that. And I don't know, I guess personally my heart is warmed, and like everyone was saying on Twitter, I think I love this team more than any team that I have loved in the past. So this is just a heart-based episode from Sarah Khalil.
Although I will say I wouldn't have minded trading OG. Sorry, I had to spoil your feel-good moment.
I count on you for that. I count on you to spoil whatever it is that I'm the most excited about, for you to just come in and be like, I'm not sure. I don't know what I would do without you. All right, so let's move into our next segment, which is the King of the North segment. Who do you guys have as your standout player for this week? Allison, you go first.
So Scarves aside, I had to go with Serge. And just the way, not just this week, I've been thinking like over the last month, like the development in his game. So he's added a very dependable mid-range shot to his game. So he's like from 10 or 12 feet, he's pretty much money. He's also added a three that, I mean, I don't remember seeing him hit threes this reliably. His first, has he been with us? Is it 4 years now? Anyway, he's just terrific on the roll, like on the way to the basket. And as you touched on before, Sarah, he's started with a little bit of playmaking. Like he had an amazing bounce pass. I forget who the recipient was. I think it was in that first Indiana game. So I just kind of look back at his numbers, because it seems extraordinary that a player who's been in the league, I think this is his 11th year in the league, if my math is correct. So, I look back at what looked to be his peak year, 14-15. He was playing 33 minutes, and he had a 47% field goal percentage. He's down to 26 minutes now. This is last year's numbers, and he's hitting 52% from the field. And his scoring numbers are just about the same. He was scoring, hitting 14 points in 2014-15. He's up to 15. So this is a career high for him. So, at this age, to still be developing his game, it's just extraordinary. It says something about his hard work, and it says something about his character. And he's had a great week. Like that three against Indiana in the last, last 30 seconds. That was fabulous. And he was big tonight, but it's not just this week. He's been very good all year. So he's my King of the North, definitely, for the week.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I love watching him hit that game winner. And then tonight, just like to your point about playmaking, like he puts the ball on the floor now. He's driving to the net, and then he just bounce past it to Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, who comes in for the dunk. Like that's just this beautiful, unpredictable play from Serge, and that's becoming more and more a part of his game. So 100% agree with you on his offensive development. It's been really cool to watch. Essie, what do you have to say about the King of the North for this week?
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because I feel like I say Serge almost every week. But he's just been so good. He's been so consistent. Tonight, 22 points, 10 rebounds, shooting good field goal percentage. He's plus 10 highest on the team. Obviously, the game winner, the previous game, 30 points that game. Like you guys said, passing's gotten better. And he's been working really hard. And the fact that he's been mentoring the younger guys too. I know Terence Davis is always raving about how much Serge has been mentoring him, and he'll stay after games and train with Serge, head to the weight room. And also too, speaking of him getting better and better, he's also one of the best eaters on the team. The other players have said he's always eating healthy, taking care of his body. So it's great to see him being rewarded for his hard work in so many different capacities.
I didn't know that about his eating. It doesn't really surprise me, but I had no idea about that.
Yeah, even Terence Davis was saying he's scared to eat in front of Serge. I think he said it like 2 weeks ago or something. He's like, he's scared to eat in front of Serge because he's going to be like, what are you doing? That type of thing. So yeah, he's serious.
Oh my God. So basically what you're saying is Serge is a fashion icon, an eating idol, and a continually developing player who's just kicking butt on the Raptors.
Yeah.
Triple threat.
Yeah, that described it so well. I don't even have anything else to add. He's just like a threat in so many different ways.
That's awesome. I love it. All right. Well, then fine. Just because you already picked Serge Ibaka. I actually wasn't going to pick him anyway because I figured something you guys were. But my King of the North for this week is, and I did have a hard time choosing between two other players, but I'm going to go with Pascal Siakam. And there are a couple reasons why. First was in the game against Chicago. What I was noticing he was doing is when the Raptors would get possession back and then come up into the offensive zone, not on the fast break, but just before the Pacers could actually set their half-court defense, Pascal would just pull up at the top of the arc and shoot a three and drain it. And it really reminded me of what Kawhi Leonard would do last year, just like dribble, 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 pull up, shoot the three, boom. And so I love that Pascal has added that to his game. The second thing is in the game against Indiana, he had actually a really, really tough start. Like I think he shot something for like 4 for 19 or something. It was really not a good shooting percentage for the first 3 quarters, but he didn't let that impact his fourth quarter game at all. And in fact, totally stepped it up in the fourth quarter, caused the turnover, got a steal, got a dunk with like a minute and 30 seconds left to bring the Raptors within 4, I think, or something. And what I love about that is just his mindset. It just doesn't matter how those first 3 quarters have gone. He's going to be a superstar in the fourth quarter and cause the win for his team. And I just love seeing that. And then today, he had some absolutely fantastic drives, fadeaway jumpers, and it's just like he adjusted. Like he's just learning to be a superstar. I really saw it this week, and I'm just proud of this guy. So Pascal, he's my King of the North for the week.
Good choice. Honestly, like there's so many great things that happened this week that it's like, yeah, I agree. That's also a good choice.
Right? It's actually kind of hard to pick. It's been harder to pick King of the North this past couple weeks, and it's also hard to pick the court jester, but we all have to do that right now. So, Essie, we're going to start with you. Who's your court jester for this week?
Yeah, so my court jester is going to be Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. I know he's coming back from injury, so I feel bad in choosing him, but it's just one of those things where it's like everyone's been playing so well, like to the point where they're like blowing us away. And then you have him, he's just like, meh, you know what I mean? Just not, plus he was -5 tonight, -18 the previous game, had some costly plays, momentum swingers, and had 0 points the last game. So yeah, it just, maybe if it wasn't a week where everyone was blowing us away so much, but it was almost going to be OG, if that's any consolation. And then he played well tonight. So I had to change my mind. So yeah, it's Rondae Hollis-Jefferson.
Yeah, and also he poked Pascal in the eye tonight. Why would you do that to your own teammate? I know it was not on purpose, but that's fine. Okay, Allison, who's your court jester of the week?
So notwithstanding tonight, I went with OG again against Chicago. 21 minutes, 4 points. He did have 7 rebounds, 1 steal. The first Indiana game, 28 minutes, no points, 3 rebounds, and he just had 1 steal. And then that Indiana game, there was 1 point, I think it was the first half, and he and Fred were running the break, and there were 2 Pacers back. And you would just expect that he would make a run to the rim. Fred was bringing the ball up. And it honestly looked to me like he was kind of just loafing, like there wasn't full effort there. So you kind of have to wonder, is there something going on with him? And Nick Nurse has been quick to call out other players when he wasn't happy with their play, as far as Pascal's fouls or Rondae and Stanley at the beginning of the year about their defense. So the fact that Nick Nurse isn't publicly calling out OG kind of makes me wonder if there's something more going on. So I really like OG. He's versatile. I believe he still has upside. I just kind of wonder when we're going to see it. People on the timeline were calling for him to be traded. I'm definitely not there yet. He has a lot of potential. But yeah, he was a little bit hard to watch this week. I was happy to see him come back a bit tonight. But again, I think I made the point in an earlier pod that they weren't really running a play for him to get that corner three that he's comfortable with. So we had a bit more of that tonight, and he kind of looked invigorated. So yeah, I'm just not sure what's up with him.
On a semi-related note, did y'all know that OG has a beard? Because tonight was the first night that I noticed that he had one.
I did not.
Surprise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all gonna have to look him up now. OG's got a beard. I bet you didn't know.
But I really couldn't see it for the scarf the other night, right? It was hard to discern.
Yeah, that's right. It's been covered up. We'll get to scarves in just a moment. I'm going to go with my court jester of the week. Essie, are you okay? You're killing yourself over there.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thanks.
I almost believe you. Okay, so I'm going to pick my court jester. Allison, you picked OG discounting tonight's game. I'm picking someone just based on tonight's game. And who I'm going to pick is Fred VanVleet. Why? Because for some reason tonight, it seemed like he didn't have a really good handle on the ball. Lots of turnovers from, or like near turnovers. It seemed like he was dribbling the ball a little higher. He didn't have the control he normally does. This is super picky. I love Fred. Thought he played great tonight. And it was unusual. Wasn't what I'm used to seeing from him in terms of his ball control. So that's my pick.
I did see that, but I mean, he's been great all week.
Yeah, like I said, I picked solely on tonight's game for Fred. So anyway, I guess I got high expectations of that guy. All right. So this is where we would normally turn our podcast over to Sonali to lead us through tea time. However, she's not here. So I will do my best. And I will tell you all about this week's tea. Are you all ready? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go. So you might have already heard, but Serge Ibaka and OG Anunoby were all over the media because of this week's episode of Avec Classe, which is Serge's show where he takes the Raptors shopping. And Serge is like really big into fashion. He just loves it so much. It's his thing. And he took OG shopping, and OG maybe not so much on the fashion. Like there's been some interesting choices about what he chooses to wear. And so Serge basically says to him like, OG, I'm going to teach you like how to dress. And OG starts saying something along the lines of, no, I taught you fashion. And Serge is like, no, OG, stop. And then he's like, because he wears all these scarves, and OG's like, I put you on scarves. He says, no, you didn't. He's like, yeah, I wore a scarf, and then you wore a scarf. And Serge goes, no, OG, stop. And then all OG says, he just repeats over and over, he goes, what about scarves? What about scarves? What about scarves? And you could just tell that Serge was just not having it. And then they show up at the next game, and OG is wrapped in a scarf completely incorrectly, like just wrong. Like it's like choking him and then like around his face, and he just looks ridiculous. And then Serge walks in with this scarf tied, like giant, big scarf, and it just looked fantastic. And he looks super fashionable and cool. So this week was all about scarves. That's the tea.
Thanks, Sarah, for telling that story. It actually made like international news. They're talking about it on ESPN. They're talking about it on random shows I never even heard of. So yeah, everybody was saying, but what about scarves this week because of Serge? Yeah, so that's all I have to say about the scarf. You told the story well.
Thanks. Basically, I just feel like I recounted something. If you haven't seen it, just go look it up. It's great and it's super funny. And also it's going to be part of NBA culture for at least this year and maybe for a lot longer. So if you want to be cool, you should go watch this video.
But I think the Indiana game will forever be known as the scarf game.
For sure.
Yeah, and in today's Indiana game, during one of the breaks, they just kept showing Raptors fans wrapped in scarves.
Oh, I missed that. Oh.
So then we can call this one the Scarves game.
Exactly. I love it. All right. Also, in some gossip for this week, there was a rumor going around that may or may not have been true that Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was pushing for Masai Ujiri to sign as the New York Knicks president. How's that for tampering? What y'all think?
Where did that even come from? Who reported on that? Was that Zach Lowe?
No.
Thought it was Mark Stein. Am I correct?
You are.
And it was sources, right? Like these nebulous sources.
Yeah, and Adam Silver's team came out and like outright denied it, which of course they would do. But it was a big thing.
I think what was funny was more the response to it. Like I was reading some comments on Twitter and people were just like, and now people wonder why Raptors fans are paranoid. This is exactly why we're paranoid all the time, that there's a conspiracy against us.
Yeah, and like, you know, to me, okay, I love the Toronto Raptors and I mostly love the Toronto Raptors fans. And then also sometimes I think it's really funny how Raptors fans from Toronto in particular can be really insecure. Like I saw this one tweet and I don't remember who said it, but they were like, all I need is for Masai to come look me in the eye and say, I'll never leave you, while I cry into his shoulder. And I'm like, okay, this is basically a dysfunctional relationship. And I just feel like that's a little bit how Raptors fans can be. Like they're just a little insecure, and I found it really cute and adorable, and that's all.
But New York's been such a mess now for, how is it, 20 years? Like it just seems odd that that whole storyline seems odd to me.
Yeah, I don't know why Masai would go to a dumpster fire.
And I think he already said in a video that he can't stand the Knicks. There's this like clip going around where he's like, I can't stand the Knicks or something like that. So
yep, I saw that. Actually, I think the word he used was hate.
So that's even worse. So I don't know why like the rumor even went around when there's evidence of him showing his disdain for the Knicks. So that was a little weird. Plus, he's just talked so many times about how much he loves being in Toronto. His family loves being in Toronto. So it's just like, I don't know. I just think that the Knicks, their organization, are constantly making up rumors to save their reputation. I believe they did it with Kevin Durant when they thought he was coming as well. And they said, we're the ones who turned him down and all this stuff. So they're always doing some weird stuff, the Knicks organization, to save public face. So maybe that was a part of it.
I love how they think that this is how to save public face. So like, we'll start a rumor that everyone wants, and then it will turn out to be false. And then we'll look good.
And then what? Like,
I think Masai's too smart to go to the Knicks, and I think his next move, because eventually everyone will move on from wherever they are. It's just like the natural evolution of human beings in their careers. But whatever it is, I think it will be very Masai-like. It'll just make sense for him. But Masai to the Knicks seems like that only makes sense for the Knicks, sort of.
Like maybe Masai for commissioner, and then you, Sarah.
Oh, love it, Allison. That's great. Okay, well, you know, this is my launching pad to commissioner, is, you know, spilling tea on our Raptor Queens podcast. So, props. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we're going to move on to our Around the League segment. Essie, take it away.
Yes, so a lot of things happened around the league this week. One of the biggest things was the All-Star teams were finalized. Team Giannis versus LeBron. They had their live draft on TV. So we got to see how the teams are going to shape up. So Raptor Queens, what are your thoughts on the two teams?
So, I mean, the teams are evenly matched. I did find it kind of funny, though, when Giannis picked Bam Adebayo, and then when it was LeBron's turn to pick, he made a comment that he wanted to to pick a hardworking player. So he picked Ben Simmons. And I heard someone snickering in the background. And I honestly thought it was Charles Barkley, but apparently it was Giannis kind of laughing. So I thought that was kind of telling. Yeah, I mean, the order, these are all great players. I mean, Sabonis got picked last, but there's no dishonor in that. I mean, these are all extraordinary players.
You know what was so funny too was that I felt like Giannis was throwing quite a bit of shade in this draft. Did you guys see when when it was James Harden, Kemba Walker, and Trae Young?
Oh, yes.
It was either Charles Barkley or Kenny were surprised because Giannis goes, it's between Kemba Walker and Trae Young, and then one of the Kenny or Charles goes, no, James Harden, and then he's like, I want someone who can pass or something or I want someone who passes the ball. Like, go Giannis. Oh my gosh. He was being so forthright in this pick. Even when he was picking his team, he was saying things like, I want people who play hard and I want a leader, before he picked Kyle Lowry and all this stuff. So it was so funny. But I love Giannis so much. To me, Giannis is a media darling. He can do no wrong in my eyes. So even though some people have been clowning his picks, for the All-Star and saying that Team Lebron has more of the MVP level players, I just think it's so fitting that Giannis would choose, the players that he just likes and play more of his style with honor and all this stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
I love that you said that, Essie, because, okay, here I go with my little heart-based comments again today. But one of the things that really struck me as I was watching the draft is I just kind of thought to myself, Giannis is so sincere. He's just sincere and he has this humility about him, and I just really like him. And I'm glad that he picked Pascal and Kyle to be on his team. Anyway, there's something about him that I find really sincere. So,
hey guys, what did you think of the comment that he made about Kyle being great in the locker room? And doesn't it make you wonder how he knows that? And if he knows that, what made him ask that? And if he asked that, why did he ask that?
Because he's coming to Toronto.
Bingo.
Okay, I have to ask you guys, why do you think he picked Embiid first over both, in my opinion, Kawhi and Pascal?
Honestly, I admit, even though I just said I love him, that was the one thing he did where I was like, why didn't you pick Kawhi? I have to admit that. I was shocked. I was so surprised when he chose Embiid first instead of Kawhi. I was like, but he did. I mean, his logic seemed fine, but Embiid hasn't been playing that well lately. So it was kind of you should go with Kawhi. And also too, just Kawhi was the next best player in my opinion. So I thought it was obvious he was going to pick him, and then he didn't pick him. But I loved how he picked Pascal though. And he was like, my second African brother. And then, oh my gosh, did you guys believe, when LeBron said, damn it, I was going to pick Pascal. Do you guys think he was telling the truth there? Do you think?
No.
Are you sure, Allison? Who do you think he would have picked instead of Pascal at that point?
I don't know, but I think LeBron is media savvy and he's somewhat of a diplomat. So I don't know, I just think it was a feel-good thing. And yeah, I don't believe that for a minute.
Do you believe it?
I want to believe it because I like LeBron a lot. I'm also a big fan of LeBron. So I want to, but then I'm like, he's such a savvy, what Allison said, he's such a savvy, player with the media, and he's very, very smart. He's a businessman. So I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know if he was telling the truth. I hope he was telling the truth because I think it made Pascal feel good, because Pascal always, he gets excited when players shout him out and things like that. So I hope he was telling the truth.
Okay, well, I think so. You just didn't look at the order. Yes, right away, LeBron is going to pick Anthony Davis as his number one choice because he's his teammate and Anthony Davis is fantastic. So that makes sense. Then I thought the second person should have been Kawhi Leonard who Giannis should have picked, but he didn't. And then third, I don't know why LeBron wouldn't have picked. I think Pascal was a completely legitimate choice for third. Which
you know what I think too? Who knows? Maybe he just is curious what it's like to play with him. You know, Pascal seems like a fun guy. He runs a lot. He dunks. Like, maybe it's just sheer curiosity. Oh, I want to see what it's like to have Pascal on my team. And the Raptors are the hottest team in the NBA right now. So maybe LeBron wanted to play with one. Who knows?
Spicy P.
Raptors are the hottest team. Okay, so next in our Around the League segment, we want to talk about a guy who's been making some waves this year. Even though he's not playing, he still makes a lot of waves by his comments. And that is Kevin Durant, who once again made the news this week because he was on All the Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. And he admitted a couple of controversial things. One, that he still has a burner account. He said burner accounts, actually, so multiple. and two, that he had already knew he was leaving Golden State by mid-season. So that was interesting, considering all year they kept denying that, I'm going to wait till the end of the season to make a decision. And they kept being like, oh, we're a family and all that stuff when the media was reporting there was divisions, but turned out to be true. And thirdly, he also admitted that the Draymond incident really affected his decision, because not so much only about Draymond, but because his teammates didn't stand up for him and say something to kind of, make Draymond feel like that was wrong. Even though Clay had said in the game that, oh, you should have passed the ball also, he didn't like that his teammates didn't stand up for him, and he felt like that was the final nail in the coffin and he was just going to do his own thing. So what do you guys think about Kevin Durant's revelations this week?
I can at least empathize with it. I mean, Kevin Durant's an interesting guy because he's so open and vocal about things that if it was me personally, I would not publicize most of this stuff. I would mostly keep it private and deal with it internally. But at the same time, I can appreciate his candor and honesty. And just I don't really think it's really any of our business, but if he wants to make it our business and share it, at least he shares in a way that is authentic and honest for him. And so that's one thing. But then I can empathize. I can imagine that you could have a scenario that where you had a problem with a teammate and that your team as a whole didn't come together to address it, especially a team that calls itself family, that he could feel that just didn't work for him, and that he would want to isolate because of that incident, because it wasn't addressed in a way that made the team whole again. And so I don't really know if I have the insider scoop on any of this, but I can at least empathize with his position and understand how it may have caused him to withdraw and decide that he didn't want to be on that team. It sounds like he's looking for a certain type of way that his team is, a certain way that his team is led, a way that his teammates show up, and it wasn't there. And so, yeah, it just didn't work for him.
Allison, what do you think?
It makes you realize, how competitive, and at the same time, these athletes are people just like the rest of us, with little petty, fights and not so petty fights and feelings. And I guess it just makes you realize how lucky we are to be fans of a team that, if they have dysfunction, we sure don't know about it. They put on a unified face, and it's, they seem to have a lot of team unity. So, it's kind of unfortunate. Who knows what would have happened if Golden State had won? Would KD have been gone then? Would he have had second thoughts? It's hard to know.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a part of me that kind of admires him just for being able, being blunt and just being honest and being hey, yeah, I do use burner accounts, and just coming forward with it. But it's just it's still weird to me that he cares so much, what people think about him. And he also was very insecure about his team and fitting in. And, that's why it kind of led to that as like the final straw. So that's the part I don't get. I don't get why he cares so much. But I do like how he's, just like, I'm going to admit it and that's it, which is better than hiding it. I would be embarrassed. I would definitely never admit that. So that is kind of admirable. The only thing I would like to say is that and maybe I'm a little biased because I used to be in media years ago, but I just hate how players blame media by default a lot of the times. Meanwhile, everything that was speculated at the time has now turned out to be true. So it's kind of just like, that's one thing, is like he blamed the media a lot in his in that podcast, and it was like, but they were right. Like everything they reported turned out to be true. There was a division in the team, and it was likely you were going to leave. So I didn't like that. I feel like that's a bit of a cop out. I mean, I know the media can be a bit much in extreme circumstances, but I thought that was interesting, and that was a revelation for me there. But other than that, I guess, that's just the way Kevin Durant is going to keep being. He's done it over and over again, and he's going to keep doing it. And in some ways, it's actually cool how he doesn't seem to discriminate. Like, he doesn't care if you're the doorman or if you're the CEO of something or if you're a player. He's going to tell you what he thinks, and he values your opinion regardless. So that's a little bit cool, I guess. But yeah, other than that, I guess that's just the way he's going to be. And we'll look forward to continuously being entertained by his comments.
And his unapologeticness about how he is.
Yeah, that's another thing. He doesn't seem to ever think he's wrong either. So
yeah. Cool. All right. So we will now move into a preview of next week's games. So we already touched on Brooklyn on our last podcast, but we'll cover them again for this week. So we play Brooklyn tomorrow, and then we play the Minnesota Timberwolves on Monday, and then we play Brooklyn again on Wednesday before we break for the All-Star break. So we've got 3 games. We kind of already have predictions for this first game, but we'll do brand new predictions from here on. What do we think is going to happen this week, Allison? What's the games?
I already said that we would beat Brooklyn on Saturday. I think Minnesota's lost something. Is it like 18 in a row? Am I remembering that correctly? So we're going to beat Minnesota, and I think we may win the Wednesday game against Brooklyn as well. So I'm saying 3-0.
All right, Essie?
So I think we will beat Brooklyn tomorrow. And then with the Minnesota game, I think that Minnesota will still be adapting to D'Angelo Russell arriving. And so they'll probably be turning over the ball and have defensive breakdowns. So I think we'll beat them. And then the second Brooklyn game, this one I'm a bit weary of because I feel like it's right before the All-Star game, and like some of their heads might be in the clouds. You know what I mean? Like they might be wanting to hurry up and, so I feel like they could lose that one. I feel like, okay, I'm going to go 2-1, although history says I should go 3-0. I'm going to go 2-1 to be safe.
Well, at least it makes it interesting because I'm going to go for 3-0. I'm calling for an undefeated win streak right through to the All-Star break. So, yeah, like at least Essie, you've made it interesting.
Okay, and I'll be the only one who can be like celebrating if I win.
That's right. If the Raptors lose, you'll be the only one that's happy.
Did Sonali submit her predictions for next week?
She didn't, but speaking on behalf of Sonali, who is an optimist like me, I'm going to make a prediction on Sonali's behalf that she.
Let me guess. 3-0.
But speaking of, don't pretend you aren't turning into an optimist. You've joined me and Sonali.
We miss you, Sonali.
We do very much. Okay, everyone. So that's it for this week. Next week is when we're recording. It's actually going to be during the All-Star break. And so what we want to do is we want to have a special episode. We want to have a special Q&A. And so if you have any questions, please submit them on Twitter at Raptor Queens and let us know what you want us to either talk about. If there's a question you have, then make sure you ask the question, and we'll answer all your questions on next week's podcast. Really looking forward to it. Thanks for being with us this week. And we will check y'all next week. Go Raptors, go.
13-0, baby.